Facebook and our live platforms. If you need to get to the basement and don't have access to the TV, that tornado warning is until 6:15, so roughly for the next 45 minutes or so. So let's get over to the areas of rotation that we see right now that is responsible for this. And this is starting to pop up here within the last couple of minutes. In this area of rotation right here, that is right along US 10. This is just to the northwest of North Williams and just to the northwest of Auburn. This storm, again, if we go back to just the last couple of minutes here, really this area of rotation really taking off just within, I would say, probably the last 10 or 15 minutes. And the environment today, not necessarily conducive to what we would normally expect with a tornado environment, but here we are. One thing that can be a little bit sneaky sometimes with these tornado environments is when you have a lot of humidity, you have a lot of areas that are near the ground that cause, we call low LCLs. They're just the area where you get condensation to form the cloud base. Occasionally, you can get areas like this that do lead to some of these areas of rotation occasionally popping up. So let's get down to street level here. This is right around Willard and just to the northwest of North Williams. So the area that we're talking about seems to be right along West Beaver Road and also just to the north of Town Line Road. That seems to be where that circulation is right now. If we zoom out to more of a wider view, this area of rotation within the last scan actually does look a little bit more broad. It is still concerning, but hopefully this goes away here pretty quickly. I would say if you are in the area of Loam, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, or also towards Linwood, I would say it's in this area right here that you need to be most concerned and getting to your safe place right now. Also, if you know anybody that's traveling right along 75 or M13, generally between Bay City and Linwood, these are the areas that I think we need to be most concerned about right now. And just to the northwest of Auburn. Auburn itself seems to be mostly away from this right now. We are not seeing what is appearing to be any confirmed tornado on the ground just yet. I'm going to double check that warning just to make sure that it's an observed, or excuse me, a radar indicated. That's what it appears to be, a radar indicated area of rotation that is just to the northwest of Auburn. That is mostly our concern here. I'm going to see if we can get a track on this. This is moving east at about 25 miles per hour. So we'll get a storm track here. Give me just one moment to actually get that with the appropriate miles per hour here, and we'll loop this really quick. This looks to be moving off to the east again within about 25 miles per hour, so it should be approaching areas like Killarney Beach as you get closer to what looks like probably about 6 o'clock or shortly thereafter. Tobico Beach around 6:06. In the meantime, you've got Caw Collin closer to 6 o'clock as well. So 25 miles per hour for those areas that are a little bit farther to the east. You actually have a decent amount of time to get to your safe place. Diane, did you get the stream going?
Yes, so our streams are going. We are currently streaming at WNEM.com. We are also on the TV5 News app. You can also catch us on the WNEM Facebook page, our YouTube channel as well. Also, if you're into streaming, we are also on our Roku and Fire Stick channels, and then Apple TV and Android TV, because I know not everybody has a TV in their basement, so you're able to grab your cell phone, head to your safe spot, and then you can stream there. I do want to remind folks, though, that in the world of streaming, there is a little bit of a delay. So here over the air television, not as much of a delay, but if you are streaming, we could be talking about 2 minutes behind. So we are going to be keeping an eye to some of the roads. As Chris had said, the Willard area, we want you in your safe spot now, because though we don't see that rotation there yet, it is headed in that direction. So by the time, if you are streaming, we want you in your safe spot before that gets there. So we are going to be also wanting
so this looks like right along Beaver Road, Town Line Road, those areas, even up to Seidler's Road. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. We're going to get our satellite view up here so we can hopefully get some landmarks for you. So if you want to drive for a second, Diana, I will get that map pulled up, and then I can also go over to the wall if you would like.
Yeah, so if you are around 11 Mile Road, Garfield Road, these are running north and south, Carter Road. We also want you headed to your safe spot, 8 Mile Road as well. So those are some of the north and southbound roads that we are mentioning. Also Beaver Road, Slider, River Road. Some of those are what we are watching. But again, right now, really right around Beaver Road, this area is where we are watching. So this is going to be right along the county line of Bay and Midland counties. So far, National Weather Service folks have said that it is still radar indicated. And thankfully, that rotation has not tightened up too much here in the latest scans. But this is the area that we are watching as the storm goes through. The tornado warning itself is going to be active here for a little while longer, still about a half hour. So we are going to remain on that coverage here until this is finally cleared out of the area. So again, this is going to include Bay and Midland counties. Kind of zooming out here, you will see that this is going to continue all the way to the lakeshore. So if you're in Bay City, right now you are under that tornado warning. We do want you being cautious and headed to your safe spots because this is going to continue traveling towards the northeast. Right now, we are going to continue to see that even headed closer towards Linwood. So Linwood, Bay City, Auburn, we are wanting you to be mindful of this tornado.
Yeah, Diane, I do feel better about this scan right here. I would say we're still in the concern level in this area right here, but this does look a little bit more broad to me now than it did just a few moments ago. The area that we're still watching here is, again, right along River Roads, and that is going down to about Beaver Road. Town Line Road was another one that we were talking about. So these areas right here, it looks like we've got mostly, from what I can tell on our Google Maps, from what I can see, is there's obviously some things in this area, but it looks like it's mostly in an area where there's not a lot of I would say city area. There's a lot of open field area here. So I think we're at least in a good position with that. But if you're still in these areas where you've got these houses here and there, definitely make sure you're in your safe area with that. Can we get a look at the CC scan, Diane? This is what we use to see if there's any debris being detected within that storm. What it does is it looks at these areas that are shaded in maroon, and we call this the correlation coefficient. And what it does is anywhere you see these colors that are shaded in maroon, it indicates the objects in that storm are roughly the same shape. When you start to get more into this blue shading or even white shading, that is where we start looking for things that are different shapes. So what would that be? That would be roof shingles, that would be branches, that would be sticks, those types of things. I'm not seeing anything that's at least very clear, Diane, as far as where that rotation is matching up with what would be or where we would be looking for that indicator. So I'm not seeing that right now, which is hopefully a good sign with that. And with this area of rotation broadening out a little bit, hopefully that is a continued good sign as well.
We also do have one of our co-workers around the Auburn area. They did just send us an image, not seeing much structure as far as any wall clouds coming through there.
Yeah, so if we can actually zoom out, speaking of Auburn, if we could zoom out just a touch, this is a little bit closer to Willard. And Auburn is just to the southeast of there. So Auburn, you're not necessarily in the area that we are most concerned with. I know this polygon goes all the way into Bay City. I know it goes all the way into Cauqualan. I think Cauqualan, you need to be a little bit more careful compared to Bay City right now. Bay City, you're still in the warning area, so I wouldn't necessarily say drop out of coverage right now, but I would say we'd have to take a little bit more of a southward jog for you to be a little bit more concerned with that. Linwood, you've got some heavy rain and potentially some hail. That's just to the west of you. Looks like we're starting to get some of those purples showing up in the reflectivity. Reflectivity just being your traditional radar colors. Looks like Linwood may be getting some hail here soon. I don't necessarily think it would be large hail in a situation like this, Diane. Today I would expect probably more towards maybe pea-sized hail or up to a quarter or so. I wouldn't expect anything at least a lot bigger than that. Here's the latest timeline. We've got Killarney Beach a little bit closer again to about 6 o'clock. Cauqualan around 6 o'clock as well. Monitor, Bangor Township, Essexville a little bit longer if this survives the trip to you. I think you're at least a little bit farther removed from the area of rotation, but as far as the wind is concerned, you may get some outflow winds from this, and you also may get some heavy rain associated with that. This morning, if you are just joining our coverage, is going until about 6:15. So we've got roughly a half hour left on that. Latest scan here starting to come in right near Loam. Again, hopefully I'm pronouncing that one correctly. That one looks like it's still pretty broad at this point, Diane. It also looks like it's losing some intensity with some of the deeper shades of green and also deeper shades of red, or some of the brighter shades, I should say.
Yes, it's not looking nearly as tight as what it was about 5 to even 10 minutes ago. So mainly that means that that rotation component is not nearly as strong on what we are picking up when we are tracking the winds coming in, because the green is what's going towards radar and then the red is going back. So when we have that rotation and we're saying that it's fairly broad, that means that we don't really have that tight spin that we would anticipate if we did have anything on the ground. So far, we haven't had any reports of anything on the ground. If you do have some reports, first off, though, you have to head to your safe spot. That's going to be the #1 place that we want you to go. If you do have any pictures or videos, though, feel free to send them in on the TV5 First Alert Weather app. There on the home screen, there'll be a section that says Submit Photos, and then you can follow the process there, and we can see where you're at and kind of some of the elements that you're working through with this. But first things first, we want you headed to your safe spots, and whether that be your basement or if that's going to be an interior wall. So make sure that you are being mindful of where you need to go in those situations.
And I would say this time of year, especially if you know anybody, just as a precautionary thing, I would say if you know somebody who is at Bay City State Park right now, this is moving towards your area, it will probably be a bit closer of a call, just because of the fact that we have seen at least some weakening with that signature here over the last couple of scans. I don't think we're completely out of the woods yet, so I would still use some caution with that. I did just get a photo to my Facebook page indicating we did have what looks to be a wall cloud associated with this. I didn't get a time frame on it, so it very well could have been at the beginning of this. But Diane, as you were setting up the stream, was talking a little bit about this today, that this isn't necessarily a tornado environment that we were expecting today, but it shows you occasionally with, you know, things like potentially a lake breeze boundary. There are a lot of boundaries that are coming across the area that it may have been from the rain earlier today, where you get some of the cool air that's been rushing out of storms all day. It sets up almost like a mini cold front here and there, and then you get occasionally some winds turning along that. I'm guessing that's what happened today with this, or potentially as you're getting into Bay County, a little bit more of an influence off the Saginaw Bay. Occasionally that's enough to sort of twist things up a little bit. So thankfully it looks like this is not sort of an environment that's going to sustain something like this. It does appear it's broadening out even more.
And even when I was doing the mesoscale analysis, there was quite a bit of capping coming around the base. So this is definitely showing that any lake breeze action is able to get some of these winds and a little bit of that rotation. It is still fairly broad. It is still rotating. Let's actually zoom in here and cover still some of the roads that are coming in. We're still talking about Loam there. It looks like it to be past Willard at this point, but still staying west of 75. So we are actually still kind of in that evening commute time frame. If you know somebody's going to be traveling along 75 in Bay County or M13,
75
give them a call.
between Colin and Linwood, I would say is probably the area that we need to pay attention to the most. Does appear that I would say the next scan is going to take this right over 75.
Yes. So again, if you know anybody who's going to be traveling 75 here in the next moments, make sure you give them a call before that they head out on roadways.
Yeah, potentially if that's a part of their evening commute. If you know, right along this stretch along M13, this is going to take obviously a little bit more time to get from 75 to 13, but that stretch from Bangor Township right up through Linwood as well. The warning is again continuing until about 6:15 tonight. It goes all the way through Bay City. I do think it's fair to say, and for whatever reason, the system likes to cut out that warning, but Bay City, you are included in this warning for now. These storms are producing a tremendous amount of rainfall. It looks like it goes down to just over the southern tip of Bay County. So pretty much goes right through Bay City. It almost seems like it cuts off near what would be the Zilwaukee Bridge or close to it.
And the main reason I'm bringing this up is Midland County was initially on that, and now we did get an update from National Weather Service to where they have now dropped Midland County from the tornado warning. So if you are in downtown Midland or Midland County, you are now into the clear of the tornado warning. You are safe to come out of your basement, interior closets, hallways. But if you are in Southern Bay County, we want you still in your basement and headed into those spots that you go for severe weather.
Yep, and I know we did have an alert go out for Saginaw Valley State University. If your student is on campus during the summer months, that is potentially something that they might have received. I would say Saginaw Valley, you are not, at least the university itself, the main campus of the university is not under that concern. Those advisories and alerts go out anytime because you've got commuters and things like that for Saginaw Valley State. But the university itself, I wouldn't say you're worried about this at all. It does appear that we've got tough to see there for sure. I'm not seeing anything on our US 10 camera that immediately stands out. We've got some low-hanging clouds. That looks like Scud to me on the west side of that camera, or excuse me, the left side of that camera. Wind's really blowing, but visibility overall pretty good there.
Yeah, it looks like we have some decent rotation trying to come in closer towards Auburn. That would be closer towards US 10. So
was
that's why I
that
wanted to bring up
secondary area that was almost on the south side?
Yes. So I wanted to just bring up that camera so we could get a good view. But yeah, that looks like Scud to me that's hanging down there. So for folks that are traveling along US 10, you can see quite a few people here making that drive. Make sure that you give them a call. Again, that looks like Scud there. So that would just be some low-hanging clouds. Nothing severe at this point on our camera, but of course we are keeping an eye because that does kind of sit right there along US 10. So we just kind of wanted to keep a viewpoint there.
Okay, so Jared, who sent me that picture of that wall cloud that was around I-75 near Beaver Road, that was northbound I-75. So that was in that area where the warning was issued. So that was what looked to be pretty legitimate. I see what you're talking about near the Auburn area right there.
And it does look fairly broad, so it may be more kind of winds just coming down towards the surface. But still, since we have a camera right there, I wanted to take a look to see and, of course, be keeping an eye to that. This looks, though, a little bit muddy, so that also gives us a little more confidence that potentially we don't have anything that is on the ground at this point, just because we do have multiple sectors where we can have rotation within that line. So we are going to continue to be watching, though, as we do still have those winds that are rotating as this line does continue to rotate. I'm going to pull up that camera, though, again.
And while we're waiting for some of these latest scans to come in, we're not necessarily seeing it on our US 10 camera right at the camera, but likely some torrential rain happening in some of these storms. That's been the case as we've gone through much of today. So even just blinding rains on some of these highway areas. Looks like we've also got some pretty gusty winds happening at our US 10 camera. So even outside of those areas of rotation, probably feeling that wind quite a bit coming out of those storms. So here's a look at that US 10 area. Some low-hanging clouds, not necessarily seeing anything really defined on that camera. I'm going to take a look at some of our Facebook stream just to see if I can see any viewer photos on that. Did get one. I'm just taking a look at a photo I just got from Amanda on Facebook. Looks like a wall cloud, but not necessarily seeing a funnel. That was near Garfield and Wilder in Auburn looking north. So we're going to keep an eye on that area that's just to the east of Auburn. I think that's smart. And we did get, Emily on Facebook did confirm what we were talking about with the potential for some hail coming through Linwood. She said there is hail there now.
So we do also have power outages as I'm checking with consumers here along 75 in that same area that we were watching. So Beaver Road, and continuing even further south towards Town Line Road. And now we just got another one coming in there around Coquitlam. So we are seeing some power outages through that area. So the wind factor is at least verifying in this as I am checking here to see even our correlation coefficient. So this is tracking for debris, anything that could be in the air. This could still be, at this point, tree branches that we could be picking up. It looks a little bit clustered. The only thing that would maybe be sticking out to us would just be this little notch here, but I'm still not even convinced that this could be anything. However, it does kind of align a little bit with some of those power outages, but still, I'm not even convinced that that pixel there along M13 would really
We'll keep an
be a
eye on
small
it.
signature.
It's getting on that edge of contamination there, sort of right on the edge of it. But if it's close to that area of circulation, we'll go back and make sure and see how it develops here. Let's just pan out really quick. That's one of the comments that we have gotten on our Facebook stream is I wish they would pan out to other areas. Just keep in mind, the reason that we have not really panned out to other areas is because this is a very isolated warning to Bay County. This is only, again, going until about 6:15. I will say it's fair to say that tornado warning wasn't necessarily on our bingo cards for today. This is not normally an environment that we would expect that to happen. Occasionally, like I mentioned earlier, if you're watching from the beginning of our coverage, occasionally these high humidity days where condensation happens a little bit closer to the surface. You've got some of those thunderstorms that happened earlier today. You've got little boundaries sitting over the area. So it might have been something very localized, just enough to spin something up. But most of the region, I think it's fair to say, Diane, that this warning right here is, I would expect to be an outlier as we go through tonight. I do not expect us to have a widespread severe weather threat. So I know we're focused primarily on Bay County right now. I don't necessarily think there's a lot of areas that are standing out. I think we'll keep an eye on some of these areas down the line. It does seem like, I don't want to compare it to the night we had earlier this summer, Diane, where we had all these little notches forming along the line, but it does seem like we've got at least maybe a few more broad areas that keep popping up and maybe going away a little bit. I wouldn't say anything terribly defined. But I think the focus, again, right now is in Bay County where we do have that warning.
And also when we were looking at the reflectivity, a lot of that green was a lot brighter there. So that signals that we have some stronger winds. As we take a live look, though, across US 10, now the rainfall has come through. Also, our producer in the Auburn area said that it is blinding rain outside. So even if we don't have anything on the ground regarding a tornado, we do still have the heavy rain. The wind is still there. You can see those flags outside. They are fully extended. A lot of wind coming through. So we do also have those power outages, again, along 75, just coming in towards the southwest side of Cucaulin. So I do anticipate that we at least potentially could have some tree damage from any branches that may have come down. So of course that can hit those power lines and then knock quite a few users and put them into the dark here this evening.
Yep, and this is also an area too, as we take a look at that US 10 camera, where we are starting to get into that zone where we're getting pretty far away from the National Weather Service radar in Detroit. So if there is something that you can see, a lot of you have sent some great photos into us thus far when it comes to what looks like some of the shelf clouds around the region, and also what appears to be some areas that look like wall clouds. It's not the most compact wall cloud that I've seen, but it seems like there's enough separation from the actual shelf cloud that I think that tornado warning is justified. And someone sending a video earlier certainly looked like we had enough rotation to justify that as well. But this US 10 camera, you can certainly see some of the blinding rain that has been out on the highways today, on any other street. So watch out for some areas of localized flooding as well. So let's take a look at that latest rotation scan, if we could, just to get a sense of where things are at. Right now, we've got about 15 minutes of this warning left. Still to the point where I don't necessarily think we can completely rule anything out, but also still looks pretty broad. You've got Bangor Township now. I think you need to be in your safe area, Bangor Township between Killarney Beach. So again, if you are at the Bay City State Park, or you know somebody at the Bay City State Park, I would certainly make sure they are aware of what is moving in their direction. The storm over I-75 now, and looks like it is approaching M13. Between Bangor Township and Killarney Beach. This area right here seems to be where we're most concerned about. So that's, again, right along Beaver Road, headed towards Tobico Beach as well. Jeske Drive, River Road, these areas in between. I would say get into your safe place now if you're not there already. And then it looks like Bay City, we've got what looks like we've got an area maybe a little bit more broad right around Wilder Road, just to the west of Bangor Township. So just to the north of what looks like Frankenlust. So precautionary for Bay City, but I think the area a little bit farther to the north looks a little bit better.
We do also have a camera in Bay City. If our director could potentially pull that up for us, I'm not sure what direction it was left in, but oh, the Bay City camera is down of all time. So we are just going to roll with radar and what we have. We did get a report actually a photo come in from Cuckolin. We appreciate folks emailing those in. Of course, you can also send those in on the TV5 News app, on the First Alert Weather app. But we had a wall cloud there in Cuckolin come in. So we are still seeing that there is that rotation potential in here. Thankfully, what we have, it is still a little bit messy here as far as where we could have any tight rotation. We still have rotation. We do have winds going in multiple directions. But if you are in Bay City, you are still under that tornado warning. Though this is a little bit messy, you're still also not very far from Bangor Township. So head into your safe spot. We always want you to be safe. Be on the side of caution. Though all of this tornado warning is still radar indicated, we are seeing power outages that are occurring. So that means that we at least do have potentially winds that are strong enough to where we could be bringing branches down. So again, head inside. You're going to want to avoid any of those exterior.
And that is the environment that we would expect to be more common on an area like today, even in the absence of we're talking about rotation here, but even in the absence of any confirmed tornado reports, what you're likely seeing if we have damage that didn't occur from a tornado, I would say more likely a microburst or a downburst type scenario. So what you can think of that as is you have all of this humidity today, and not only that humidity right near ground level, but you have it all the way through the upper levels of the atmosphere. So what happens is you get these storms that are very water loaded, and what happens is eventually that water becomes so heavy, or there's some colder air at the top of that storm that gets ingested. Eventually the air becomes so heavy that it crashes down to the ground, and similar to something like a water balloon that would hit the ground and spread out in all sorts of directions if it popped. That's what happens with the wind, is it comes down, crashing down to the surface, and it spreads out, and you get what looks like sometimes, I'm not necessarily saying this if we've had any reports that we haven't gotten just yet, but occasionally microbursts or downbursts can look like tornadoes. They're very chaotic if you're right in the middle of it. So that's why we also do the surveys and things like that after the fact, just to make sure. We're unfortunately getting into that area, Diane, where things are getting a little bit pixelated when it comes to the radar. Still looking pretty broad with the image that we have north of Cuckolin. Thankfully, this is getting set to move out over to the Saginaw Bay. So hopefully we're not dealing with that too much longer. It's 6:03 and looks like we're approaching 6:04. So we've got another 11 minutes or so. Can we go over to the reflectivity just really quick, if you don't mind?
I can. I do just want to point out, folks that are in Loam and some of the locations that we had said earlier, you are now out of the tornado warning. So that is, again, pushing eastward. The update, they are going to carry that tornado warning until 6:15. But you can see that if you are in Western Bay County, we have started to see that warning be cleaned up a little bit. Auburn, though, you are still under the tornado warning. So is Bay City, Linwood, Cuckolin, Bangor Township. So that's going to continue to head out towards the eastern portions of Bay County. I will pull up that reflectivity here.
You and I were on the same wavelength. The only reason I wanted to get up to the reflectivity is to just show areas like Auburn. You're probably in the clear now, based on the worst of this now moving off to the east of you. So Auburn, you're probably getting hit with some good rainfall right now, but not necessarily to the point. I know you're still technically in that polygon. Not really concerned about rotation for you anymore. Let's see what we've got with some of those latest scans. Can we keep this camera view right here? This is the area that again stands out between Linwood and Cuckolin, that area right there. But if we go down the line just a little bit, it still looks like this is the main area right here. Not really seeing anything consistent the further south we go. I know we've got areas of red and green that are close together, and that's the indicator that we look for, but I don't think anything off to the south is really all that defined or concerning at the moment.
And even the rain that we have coming into Genesee County there, just past Grand Blanc, coming into Davison, there could be some gusty winds, but nothing that would reach severe levels. So we have been watching still that cell that's kind of been blooming there, and that's going to continue to head in towards the Flint, Davison area, even headed towards Otisville here shortly. But even as we kind of look along this line, as Chris had mentioned, we aren't seeing any tight rotation along. And considering that that tornado warning is right around Bay County, that would very much align with the lake having an influence to allow that breeze to come in and to just kind of nudge those storms to rotate.
Yep, so the worst of the rain now, Diane, is away from Midland, but did get a alert sent out by Midland 911. Roads and streets are flooded. This is from Midland County Central Dispatch. This was sent out at about 5:59. So after some of these heavy rains came through, do not drive unless necessary, and do not drive through deep water. Heavy rains have flooded roads and streets, and they're going to let that have some time to drain. So heavy rain, again, I know we're focused on this tornado warning, and we will continue to be until about 9:15. But Midland Dispatch is sending out reports that we've got streets flooded, probably some poor drainage because of how fast it's coming down. And this is one of the reasons we highlight those excessive rainfall outlooks for situations like today. It's not flooding everywhere, but we do have isolated areas where we've gotten what appears to be some localized flash flooding. Not necessarily to the point where you've heard some of these stories in recent weeks from the national stories, but flash flooding can be something that just takes over some streets and poor drainage areas. So Midland right now doesn't give me a specific location, but Midland County Central Dispatch reporting at about 5:59, roads and streets are flooded. Do not travel unless absolutely necessary.
And I am just keeping an eye to our roadways and also our power outage map. So far it just looks like consumers, we have quite a few outages that are popping up, and still we are seeing there on the east side of Midland some power outages that are coming in, but our largest location is going to be along 75. Is our producer up there? Could you pull up the consumers map? I know we can pull that up just so folks know that we do have those power outages that are coming in. So with that kind of being around 75, be cautious driving this evening if you do run into any downed trees, any downed power lines potentially. So I know that we're kind of right into that evening time frame. We have high school football practice that's going on.
There we go.
Yes, there's that map. So again, you can see that that is along 75. We do have these outages that are coming in again around Cucaulin, around Linwood. So just know that we do anticipate that there was at least enough wind damage to where that put us into the dark here this evening.
Yeah, so in the absence of any funnel reports, we have not seen that yet. We have gotten shelf clouds, we have gotten wall clouds, but we have not gotten any reports of a funnel yet. If you have anything differently, please let us know. That's not to say nothing has happened, but we have not seen that just yet. So my suspicion, Diane, continues to be that some of those power outages are likely related to downburst or microburst type winds. It looks like the worst of the rotation, or at least the area that we've been most focused on, is now going out over the Saginaw Bay. Again, a little bit more pixelated as you go through Bay City, just to the south of Wilder Road now. Nothing really standing out as anything that's immediately concerning in that area, despite how pixelated it is. So I think we've got a decision coming up within the next 5.5 minutes or so to see whether the Weather Service is going to extend this or not. I think we'll get a really good indicator from them when that happens. But until we see something else, again, heavy torrential rain, flooded streets in the Midland area. If you are in Auburn, I would say it's fair to say probably Cucaulin is in the clear now that some of that rotation has now appeared to have moved out over the Saginaw Bay. So I'm sure if you know anybody that's been boating on the bay today, they know what to do when they see storms coming through. Pretty elementary with that, but also maybe if they're on the west side, or excuse me, the east side of Saginaw Bay as you head towards the Thumb, maybe they're watching things off in the distance. Maybe cell phone service is not the greatest, so maybe shoot them a text. So if they do manage to get service, they'll actually get it in a good amount of time. Hopefully that this storm dies out before it gets to the western side of the Thumb. We've got the reflectivity here indicating outside of any tornado warning hazards. We've got just that torrential rain. Looks like a new severe thunderstorm warning coming in for Genesee County.
Yes, so this one was just issued. Our main threats are going to be hail and wind within this storm. So this is going to last until about 7 o'clock for eastern Genesee County. So Mount Morris, Otisville, Davison, you are under this warning. Crossroads Village is also under the warning. So if you know somebody who's out there this evening, make sure you give them a call. We are going to be watching this storm. Again, this is not related to anything rotating at this point, but since this thunderstorm warning did come in, this is going to be active again until 7 o'clock. Now, in the next 5 minutes, we do have that tornado warning that is still active in Southern Bay County. But once that is expired, and I do anticipate here from National Weather Service that, they did just expire the tornado warning. So we will continue to have a quick coverage of here. So we do have that tornado warning again in Southern Bay County that has been expired. And then we do have the severe thunderstorm warning in eastern Genesee County that is going to continue until 7 o'clock. Again, wind and hail will be the main concerns. As we do regroup and transition back to our news, and Chris, of course, will have another full first alert update. We will send you to a break and we'll be right back with more coverage.
Not that anyone would, but we're probably our stream mic still